So today we'll be studying about acantholysis. So acantholysis is a very important topic from PG point of view also, and whenever we want to study about the immunobullous disorders, acantholysis should be on our tips. So let us start. So where have we derived this word from, acantholysis? So in 1881, Auspitz coined the term, and acanthos means thorn and lysis means break. So very rightly, he coined the term acantholysis. Now, for all of you who have gone through my video about the skin basics, we know that the stratum spinosum is known as the prickly layer. It is known as the prickly layer. Reason being that the maximum numbers of thorn-like structures are found in stratum spinosum. So, what are these thorn-like structures? And more importantly, what is the definition of acantholysis? So, acantholysis means loss of coherence between the epidermal cells due to break in the intercellular bridges. Now, what are these intercellular bridges that we are talking about? So, let us get back to our basics. We know that of all the layers of the skin, we have the stratum spinosum and the stratum basale, which is known as the Malpighian layer. So, in stratum spinosum, we have a lot of intercellular bridges. Now, what are these intercellular bridges we are talking about? These are the desmosomes. So what is a desmosome? A desmosome is a structure which will hold two epidermal cells, these two epidermal cells together. So this is a desmosome which is holding the epidermal cells together, and this desmosome has proteins. So what are these proteins called? These are desmogleins. So desmogleins are the proteins which make up the desmosome. The desmosome holds two keratinocytes together and forms a bond. About desmogleins, desmogleins are of four types. I have mentioned two main desmogleins, desmoglein 1 and desmoglein 3. Now, in the pathogenesis of immunobullous disorders, once we'll start studying about the immunobullous disorders, we'll realize that there are two types of immunobullous disorders. One are the intraepidermal disorders and others are the subepidermal disorders. So when we study about the intraepidermal disorders, the main group that we study is the pemphigus group. So for the pathogenesis of pemphigus group, these two desmogleins are very important, desmoglein 1 and desmoglein 3, because antibodies against desmoglein 1 are responsible for pemphigus foliaceus, and antibodies against desmoglein 3 are responsible for pemphigus vulgaris. Okay, so now we've studied what a desmosome is, and if there is any break in the integrity of a desmosome, there will be some consequences. So what are these consequences and what is actually happening? So there are certain triggers for acantholysis, that is the breakdown of desmosomes. So what are these triggers for acantholysis? One is autoimmunity, which we have already discussed, that is the pemphigus group of disorders. Next, we have drugs. So we have a condition which is known as drug-induced pemphigus. So that is also a cause for acantholysis. Then we have infections like staphylococcal infections, impetigo, or other infections like herpes zoster, varicella zoster, herpes simplex. They are also causes for acantholysis. Various foods, genetic factors, heat, UVB and ionizing radiation, even contact dermatitis, and friction, maceration, or trauma, which is a major cause of bullous formations in HHD. What is HHD? Hailey-Hailey disease. Fine. So now we know the major triggers for acantholysis. Let us move on to the types of acantholysis. So this is one topic we need to know by heart. Types of acantholysis. So acantholysis has been classified into primary and secondary acantholysis. There is also another type of acantholysis which is biochemical acantholysis, but that is out of the scope of this video. So we'll only focus on two types of acantholysis, that is the primary and the secondary acantholysis. Now it is better if you take a screenshot of this very important conceptual slide. So in primary acantholysis, what is happening? There is some direct injury to the keratinocytes or there is some hereditary reason. Now by direct injury, I mean to say that there is formation of immunoglobulins. There is formation of antibodies. And by hereditary reasons, I mean that there may be some deficiency in the desmoglein protein, like in Terrier disease or in Hailey-Hailey disease. So ultimately, what is happening? There is disintegration of the desmosome. So how it looks like? See, this was a desmosome. We have hexagonal skin cells and they were connected by desmosome. Now for some reasons, for example, I say there was an antibody against the antigen here. So ultimately what happens? The desmosomal integrity is lost. The cells lose their shape and they become rounded. So this round cell, these round cells are the acantholytic cells. These are the acantholytic cells, and a lot of fluid accumulates here in between the acantholytic cells. So ultimately, when we see with the naked eye, what is this appearance like? It appears like a vesicle or a blister. So whenever in any disease you see a vesicle or a blister, just keep it in mind that somewhere in the pathology there will be an acantholytic cell and there will be some intercellular edema. There will be intercellular edema. So one thing is done, that in all biopsies of pemphigus you will see an acantholytic cell. Now the type of acantholytic cell may vary, but it will be an acantholytic cell. Okay, now we have the secondary acantholysis. Now secondary acantholysis occurs due to viral infections. So basically what is happening, that due to some viral infection, the cell is losing its shape, and then that is further leading to the breakage of desmosome. So in various viral infections, there is a phenomenon which is known as ballooning degeneration. There occurs ballooning degeneration. So what does ballooning degeneration do? It damages the keratinocyte. So here is a diagram, like we have the hexagonal cells here and they have been infected by a virus. Fine. So what is happening is that there is ballooning degeneration. So individually the cell starts to swell. Now it will look somewhat like this. So the cells have swollen, they have lost their shape, and there is accumulation of fluid in between the cells. This also will present as blistering if we see with the naked eye. So this is how both primary as well as secondary acantholysis is occurring. So the mechanism is different, but ultimately there will be formation of an acantholytic cell. Another very important slide is the causes of acantholysis, primary and secondary. We need to differentiate, especially the causes of primary acantholysis, very important in immunobullous disorders as well as congenital blistering disorders. So we have pemphigus vulgaris and its variants, pemphigus foliaceus and its variants, Hailey-Hailey disease, Terrier disease. Now something important to note is bullous impetigo and staphylococcal scalded skin syndrome. So both of these are infectious. Both of these are caused by Staphylococcus aureus. However, Staphylococcus aureus is damaging the desmoglein first. It is not damaging the keratinocyte. It is damaging the desmoglein first. So it has been classified under primary acantholysis. Whereas in secondary acantholysis, we have herpes simplex, varicella zoster and herpes zoster. So these occur due to viral infections. They lead to ballooning degeneration, which leads to secondary acantholysis. So with this, we have covered acantholysis in a very short manner and in a very sufficient manner, and we've built the concept of acantholysis. I thank you all for listening to this video. Kindly like, share and subscribe to this channel, and if any of you need the notes for the same notes that I've taught from, you can always mail me and I'll revert back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.